Hello Pokemon trainers, welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet video here on iStarly TV. This is going to be my Regulation D kind of, I guess, guide or intro video. I don't know exactly what to call it yet, but basically Regulation D is here. As of the recording of this video, I think we're a few hours away from it going live. And this rule set is the new rule set for singles and doubles, competitive singles and doubles, and it includes all of the Pokemon that are transferable from Pokemon Home, all of the non-restricted legendaries. So Landorus will be legal, Heatran, Zapdos, a bunch of just really awesome Pokemon, and a lot of new ones as well, such as like Enamorus and all the Hisuian Pokemon that have not been legal in any competitive battling setting before. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but also I'm just going to talk about the team that I built for Regulation D. So I'm going to be recording some or a video with this team pretty soon, as soon as Regulation D goes live. And yeah, let's just talk about the team here first of all. So I tried to build this team based off of Pokemon I wanted to use, but there are a lot of new Pokemon that I want to try out, so it's going to be a lot of fun trying everything out in this new season. But it's funny because one Pokemon that I thought of was Hisuian Arcanine, as you see here, which has Rock Head as its ability, as its hidden ability, and then it has access to Flare Blitz, Head Smash, and Wild Charge, which are really powerful moves, and because of Rock Head, they will not do any recoil damage. So it's able to hit really hard with the Choice Band, with basically no downside. And I thought about how it also has access to Extreme Speed, and how Dragonite has been a really good Pokemon pretty much for the entirety of Scarlet and Violet's meta because of Extreme Speed with Terra Normal. So I decided to try to replicate that with this Hisuian Arcanine build. It is max attack and max speed. I guess there's an argument for going for HP as well, although the defensive typing on this is not amazing, so I wanted to be able to outspeed as many things as I could, and plus Hisuian Arcanine has decent speed. Its stats are actually, I think, identical to regular Arcanine. So that is the Pokemon I kind of started with on the team, and then from there I kind of built around it and tried to use Pokemon. Now, as you'll notice, there aren't too many new Pokemon in this, or Pokemon that are new to Regulation D on this team, but we'll talk about them anyway. So the next Pokemon I wanted to use was Enamorus, and I felt like it was a decent complement to Hisuian Arcanine. Of course, Arcanine is weak to fighting and ground, and Enamorus is can easily take care of those types. It's also extremely bulky. This is the Therian form, by the way. The regular form or incarnate form is very different. It has, I think, really high special attack and decent speed, and then it's a lot less bulky, whereas this variant is very bulky. It reminds me a little bit of Cresselia, to be honest, and in fact, that's kind of what I modeled this moveset after. So we're max HP, max defense, with a bold nature, and then we're running Calm Mind, and then its new move called Springtide Storm, which is its unique move, which is 100 base power, 80 accuracy, and it's a fairy type move that can possibly lower their attack stat, which is great with my bull, basically. The downside, of course, is that it's 80 accuracy, which is actually really rough and a little shaky, and I am honestly a little bit concerned about that. In the end, if this ends up being a disaster, I might just switch it for Moonblast, which is very close in power and also 100% accurate, but I did think that the upside of possibly lowering their attack stat was really good. And then I'm also running Mystical Fire, which complements the fairy type coverage pretty well, and it will always lower their special attack stats. So going up against special attackers, Mystical Fire can be really strong. And then finally, I just threw Earth Power onto the last move slot. I didn't really know what else to put, and basically Heatran is a Pokemon that I think will be really common in the meta, so having access to a move that can hit it, because otherwise I wouldn't, is, I think, a pretty good place to be. So I'm really looking forward to using this Pokemon, and I mean, no lie, it's kind of ugly, but it's really exciting to use it because, again, this is the first time that Enamorus is usable in a competitive setting, and its typing is very good, and its stats are also really good. So there's Enamorus. From there, I wanted to use a Pokemon that I thought could help me against Pokemon that would obviously deal or cause trouble for these two, so steel types, and again, because Arcanine is 4 times weak to ground, I did want more coverage, more safety against ground types, especially since Landorus has been a dominant threat in all previous generations where it's been legal. And Landorus is back, so it's very possible Landorus is going to be very good once again. So Corviknight is just really good against Landorus because we are immune to the ground type moves, and then Corviknight's defensive typing is also just really solid at covering a lot of common threats. I have Rocky Helmet because another Pokemon that I think is going to be pretty good is Urshifu, both forms, but I think a lot of people are talking about the water variant being really good right now, and so the fact that every hit from the Surging Strikes will give it some damage because of the Rocky Helmet, I think that's a pretty good place to be. And this is a pretty typical Corviknight set that I've been using in Scarlet and Violet, which is Iron Defense with Roost and Body Press, and then I threw Brave Bird on as that fourth move just because I thought it might help. We'll see. This is actually a Corviknight from my Sword and Shield file, and obviously it's shiny, which is pretty awesome, and it has the Mirror Armor ability, which I still think will be pretty good here as well because of Pokemon like, of course, Landorus with Intimidate, but also things like I just talked about, Enamorus, who has moves like Springtide Storm and Mystical Fire, which can lower my stats, so Mirror Armor can really help against those. So I thought Corviknight would help me on the team as well. And the third Pokemon in a row with max HP and max defense, I hope I don't regret this, but this is Clodsire. And so one Pokemon that I thought could still do a lot of damage to my team was that water type Urshifu. And so Clodsire is actually really good against it because it has Water Absorb, making it immune to Surging Strikes, obviously, and then it's a poison type to make it resist the fighting type moves. And then I added Terra Flying because of Landorus again. So hopefully I don't have too much of a one-track mind against those threats, and hopefully I'm not ignorant to like the other possible threats, but I think I covered all my bases decently with this team. And then for the moveset, I have Stealth Rock just because I did want some form of Stealth Rock on the team. I think that could help my offensive Pokemon pretty nicely. And then Yawn is just always good. Toxic is always good as well against Pokemon like Zapdos, which I expect to also be really common. And then finally we have Earthquake. For that last slot, there are a lot of options. There's Earthquake, there's Poison Jab, there's even Liquidation, but I just decided on Earthquake there. There are going to be a lot of flying types in the meta. Once again, Landorus, Zapdos, possibly Enamorus, but I still think Earthquake is decent, and Toxic can help me hit those Pokemon, so hopefully I don't regret this too much. But Clodsire seemed really good in the meta. Finally, the last two Pokemon are very commonly used currently in Regulation C, and that is Iron Bundle and Fluttermane, both of which are going to have the max special attack and max speed EV, so we're playing it a little safe here. All of my EV spreads are pretty typical, I guess you could say. And this is the Iron Bundle set that I've been running pretty often. I almost always run this Iron Bundle set whenever I play Iron Bundle, just because I found it to be really good. Iron Bundle's speed tier is actually pretty amazing. It's 1 speed point faster than Fluttermane and Chien-Pao, who are already like some of the fastest Pokemon in the meta, and so getting the jump on those two is pretty good, because I still expect those two to be really good in the meta. And then it's faster than all the other new Pokemon. It's great against Landorus. Against Zapdos, we can go Terra Ground. I also have Substitute and Encore, which can help. And I think that, I just think Iron Bundle is a good Pokemon. So, for the last two Pokemon, I wanted something that can round out my coverage and help me offensively. And Bundle seemed great. Finally, again, Fluttermane. We've got Focus Sash. We've got Terra Fire. And the top 3 moves are pretty common on Fluttermane. And then Perish Song is something that I've been seeing Fluttermane's currently running more recently, and I wanted to try it out because, again, there's a lot of bulky Pokemon in the meta, there's a lot of setup Pokemon, and so the ability to kind of scare them out with Perish Song, or even make them faint if they're the last one, could be really good. So that's the team. I don't yet have a team code for it, but when the season starts, I'm going to be making a video, like I said, showcasing the team, and also I will have a team code. And again, I'm just excited to try so many new Pokemon out, so I'm just going to be doing a lot of videos with a lot of new teams. The next section of this video here, I actually just want to talk about Pokemon that I think are good in the meta, like just Pokemon to watch out for, new threats and stuff like that. I did a video recently, if you want to check that out. It was my last Regulation C battle video with basically my team consisted of the top 6 most used Pokemon in Battle Stadium Singles Regulation C. So basically all of those Pokemon like Dragonite, Goldango, Fluttermane, Chien-Pao, etc. I expect to still be really good in the meta, so those are Pokemon you still want to be prepared for, but some new threats include I keep mentioning these, so I'm not going to talk too much about them just because, you know, I've already talked a little bit about them, but Landorus, Heatran, Zapdos, and Urshifu, both forms of Urshifu. There's the Dark Bear as well as the Water Bear, each of which is pretty similar, but they have a unique move that can kind of help them in different situations. The thing about the first three, Landorus, Zapdos, and Heatran, I know I'm kind of all over the place. I have these boxes organized with Pokemon that I think are going to be really good in the meta, but the thing about these Pokemon is they are really good and really versatile, and in previous generations, they've proven themselves to be just some of the best threats in the meta, unsurprisingly, because once again, they just have really well-rounded stats and they're really strong. So they can fill multiple different roles. They can be bulky, they can be offensive, they can set up. I mean, there's just so many things that these Pokemon can do, which is why I would not be surprised if they remain top threats in this generation. And with terastallizing, I think that's only going to help them, right? Like Landorus is usually weak to ice, but now it can terastallize into maybe a water type or a steel type to really throw people off and take over a battle that way. You know, same thing with Zapdos. It's weak to ice, it's weak to rock, but if you terastallize it, it won't be weak to those anymore. And then again, Heatran is another one that's amazing because if you go like Terra Grass or something, you still have the Flash Fire ability, which means you're still immune to fire. So, you know, you could be a grass type that's not weak to fire, which is pretty huge. And obviously grass resists ground, which would be otherwise 4 times super effective against Heatran. So yeah, I think with terastallizing, these 3 Pokemon are going to be huge in the meta. That's one of the reasons why Dragonite has been such a dominant threat in this current meta, because it has multi-scale and it has really good stats and really good moves. And with the ability to change its typing, it just makes it that much better. So I expect that to be true for these as well. Let's talk about other threats that I like. Obviously, Enamorus, I'm talking about. I'm enamored with it. Cresselia is another one that I think will be really good because of terastallizing. If you go Terra Poison or Terra Steel, you basically have very few weaknesses. If you go Terra Poison, you are only weak to Psychic because, of course, your ground type weakness is mitigated or ignored by Levitate, so that's pretty huge. And Cresselia is just an amazing Pokemon. Ursaluna is another one that a lot of people are talking about that I think will be really strong as well. It has massive stats, it hits really hard, and it has a few really good abilities as well as access to like Belly Drum and Guts. So this is a Pokemon to watch out for, I think, as well. It's going to hit really hard. I think a lot of people are talking about it on Trick Room, so in singles, that might not be as easy to pull off as in doubles, but again, I think Ursaluna still warrants some consideration. Basically, all of the other genies, you know, Tornadus and Thundurus are also really good, so I wouldn't be surprised if they also take off. Hisuian Zoroark is another big one that has just a really amazing typing. Offensively and defensively, normal and ghost. I mean, this is the only normal and ghost Pokemon we have. It's an amazing shiny that I have. And I think, again, offensively and defensively, it's just an amazing typing. So this is a Pokemon I think you should also be aware of in the meta. And finally, some kind of honorable mentions that I'm really excited for are Pokemon like Galarian Moltres, because I think this Pokemon's really cool. And it was actually pretty good in Sword and Shield when it was introduced, because there's no more Dynamax with the ability to boost your speed with Max Airstream, I think it was called. It might be a little bit less good, but I still think this is a Pokemon to watch out for and to keep in mind, and I'm definitely going to try to build around it as well. There's also Cleavor, which is a really strong one. There's a lot of strong Hisuian Pokemon, and I'm really excited to try this one out as well. It has an exclusive move called Stone Axe, which basically sets up Stealth Rock and does some damage, so really exciting stuff there as well. Hisuian Lilligant also looks great. I'm going to build around that at some point. Cinderace is a Pokemon that was really good in Sword and Shield, and Libero was nerfed in this generation, so it's possible that Cinderace might not be as good, but I still think it's a Pokemon to watch out for. And there's also, I guess there's also Rillaboom here, which is really good as well. Sadly, Rillaboom lost Grassy Glide, so it doesn't have priority anymore, but still a strong Pokemon. And then finally there's Greninja, which I don't have in these boxes here, but Greninja's another one that was really good in Gen 6 and Gen 7. It was not in Sword and Shield, so we didn't see how good it was there, but I would not be surprised if it's another Pokemon that does really well. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of a little bit of a rundown of of Regulation D, the new series, the new rule set that's coming to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet today, as of the making of this video. I'm really excited for it. So be on the lookout for some videos coming up. I'm going to try so many different teams here. Please like and subscribe for more Pokemon Scarlet and Violet videos, and let me know in the comments what Pokemon you are most excited to use with this new rule set. I'll just go ahead and say one Pokemon that I'm really excited to use is Spectrier, just because I don't think it gets enough love. The sad thing is, I mean, I really like this Pokemon, but the sad thing is I think it's just outclassed by Fluttermane. But anyways, let me know in the comments. I'm interested in hearing, and I'll talk to you next time. Have a good one.